What's going on, everyone? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys the latest behind-the-bar reviews for One Piece. One Piece chapter 957, and it is goddamn, I had a friend in the Discord, right? And in Grim Reaper's Discord, go check it out. It's good. And they basically said it's a non-One Piece reader. Understands One Piece, gets the gist, but has never actually read One Piece. So they asked me and said, what is so important about the bounties? Why are these bounties so important? And you know what? I was a little stumped. I was a little stumped because some people were saying the chapter is overhyped. All we got were some bounties. Like, what does a bounty really mean? Well, we know that the bounty is a correlation to power, but more so threat level. It's similar to One Punch Man sort of idea, except done a little differently, but same idea. The world government looks at them and goes, how much damage can this person do to me, to islands, to the structure that we have right now, the peace, for the most part? That's basically what bounties are based off of. What is their threat level? What is their disaster level? What type of calamities can they cause? And that's where the bounties come into play for the most part. So these bounties, in that way, it's like, okay, we already know the 4 emperors, 4 strongest pirates. Why do we actually need their bounties? We know they're the 4 strongest. So why do we actually need them? I was a little stumped, and then I realized something. We as a community, we as fans of One Piece, have hyped these bounties up. We are the ones that are interested. We got interested initially because we did the correlation between power and stuff, and the higher the number, it was like, oh wow, the bounties don't nearly mean as much as they might have used to. But because of that old feeling of, wow, we just got the reveal of this bounty, it was huge, wow, it's just something that the fan base has made important. We, the fans, make it hype, make it important, and that's why it is important. The numbers, the numbers we got for Kaido, for Big Mom and stuff, are they impressive? Of course they're big and impressive and stuff. However, we already knew they were that strong. Is anybody really shocked by the numbers? Some people even think some of them are a little low. However, this is just something that I just wanted to bring up right here before we get into the actual page by page of the review, because this chapter is so hype, but some people are actually asking, well, it's not like it's Super Saiyan 3 was revealed or anything. It's not a new form. It's not a new character. It's not some big revelation of who Im Sum is, where the One Piece is or something. It's just a number. We already knew Shanks was badass. We already knew Whitebeard was badass. We already knew Roger was badass. These numbers just signify that the world government thinks so too. That's all they really do, but I don't really care. In case you guys thought I was going on another tangent that I'm not hype about these bounties, I am, because as a One Piece fan, bounties mean something to us, and we get hyped for them. We get hyped for them, maybe not for the most logical reasons or whatever, but we, the fan base, have made bounties important. So Oda knows this, and he's made bounties be relevant and important in the series as well. So, and don't get me wrong, when they talked later on about, alright, we're going to have to reassess the Warlord bounties, we're going to get a Mihawk bounty incoming, and I want to know what they think that man is worth. He's probably going to be above Blackbeard. If he's not, I'm a little skeptic. I think he's going to be around the Shanks level. Maybe under it, probably, but definitely higher than Luffy and Blackbeard. That's my summary of what I think Mihawk's bounty is going to be. And once again, even with all this knowledge, what I just told you guys for the past 3 minutes, knowing all this doesn't take away the hype from me. I'm still excited to see what these bounties are. I was excited for these bounties. I still can't get over it. And I'm hyped for the bounties we're going to get. So just wanted to impart that little bit of knowledge because I thought it was an interesting way to take it from a non-One Piece reader, but he understands something about One Piece. So shout out to Chubb Sperm, I think he calls himself these days. Good old Chubb in Grim Reaper's Discord, because he was the one who was asking. So shout out to you, buddy. So that being said, why don't we just get into the actual chapter? The first part of this, there are going to be a lot of reviewers, and I understand oversaturation, so I'm probably going to miss some stuff, and some things aren't going to be talked about as much, but I'm going to try to do this justice, because the first section I'm going to talk about is we have Fujitora talking to Sakazuki, right? And it's This is very interesting. It doesn't give us a whole lot of new information. All it does is confirm that Fujitora is happy that the Shishibukai system has been abolished. The kings voted on it. Apparently, Akainu, Mr. Absolute Justice, did not want the Shishibukai to be eliminated. He did not want that. He liked that system. Well, he might not have liked the people in it, but he thought it was a good system, clearly, because he would have voted against getting rid of it. But the will of the kings cannot be overturned, as he said. Which is very odd, because he's all pirates are evil, all pirates are scum, all pirates have to be eliminated. But he's working with literally some of the most notorious pirates. You have people like Crocodile and Mihawk and Doflamingo in this ragtag crew. The son of Roger doesn't matter, gotta kill him. Meanwhile, the son of Weevil's working under him. Or it's not the son of Weevil. Weevil, the son of Whitebeard, is working under him. And as we found out in this chapter, no one other than Roger has topped Whitebeard's bounty as a pirate. Key definition, because people are talking about dragon. But nobody has topped Whitebeard's bounty. So, the son of Roger's a problem. But the son of Whitebeard, who cares? Like, that's what I don't understand. Akainu would have been fine when Ace was offered the position of warlord. Had he taken that, he wouldn't have like the absolute justice thing has some holes in it now. For me, I realized this and I'm going, well, wait a minute now. He's like not compromising with anybody, but Ace could have been a warlord. So if he found out he was Roger's son, then would he try to kill him? If he was a warlord and did his job? See, this is the problem with this absolute justice crap. I know a lot of people don't agree with Akainu, and some people do, but this is a problem. This is Akainu's methodology, his the way he believes justice should work. It's actually a little hypocritical. The way that, and this chapter just proved it, because he didn't want to get rid of the warlord system. So, you're hypocritical as hell, Akainu, and you killed Ace. So, yeah. Anyways, that being said, so as I said, this is a bit of a wrap-up. We get the information about the Special Science Group, which is supposedly going to replace the Shishibukai system that Fujitora mentioned. A lot of people summarize that Vegapunk will come up with some type of weapon or a contingency, something that would be on the level so the balance of power could remain somewhat stable. But even Fujitora goes, we have to put our faith in this group, but the powers that be are shifting greatly in the world right now. And then Akainu basically says, so Kaido and Big Mom got together on Wano. They're likely to join an alliance. And he's like, what? Rock's second coming? What the hell? And Akainu's like, yeah, don't say it like it's a fable. It literally, it's going to happen. When it rains, it pours, man. So right now, they're worried because apparently, it's funny because they keep thinking of Rock's second coming. But we know that the Golden Lion, I can understand if they had a meeting between. The Rock's captain is apparently dead, but we find out that in this chapter. But if we had the meeting of, Silver Axe, Golden Lion, Kaido, Big Mom, Whitebeard, were he alive sort of idea, and they all were grouping together, then I could understand them talking about Rock's second coming. Because Rock's is dead. I'm assuming he's not coming back to life. And in this respect, yes, two of the former, don't get me wrong, the Rock's crew is insanely powerful with all these insane people, but this is an alliance between Yonko, not the second coming of the Rock's pirates. It's a combination of two of the originals. It's not, so I'm failing to see why they keep referring to it as the second coming of Rock's. Maybe they're talking about the level of devastation. This is going to be a similar level of pirate crew power that is going to, maybe something like that. But either way, that's the little first part. It's basically a summary that Fujitora is happy the Shishibukai system was eliminated. Sakazuki is not, Akainu's just like, nope, not a fan. But we got Kaido and Big Mom to worry about now, Wano to worry about. We got all this shit to worry about now. And it's all happening. We can't stop it. And then after that, we move on to the other parts of the chapter. Okay, so now we're still at New Marineford. We're still at the Marine HQ idea, right? But we're over to Sengoku, clearly explaining and trying to figure, to all these Marine people, he's trying to explain, what's going on. They're like, what? He's informing, okay, Kaido and Big Mom have joined forces. How they know about this is a little, I don't doubt the information networks that they are getting and such, but it does seem odd that they seem to know so quickly that Kaido and Big Mom have joined forces. But clearly right now, they don't know. Like they said, we're unprecedented. They've always been as like a cat and dog thing. They've never really been able to work together, not since the day of rocks. So it's very interesting here, though. It's very, very interesting because we have this whole, okay, the Yonko have joined hands. We don't know what their plan is yet. I mean, world devastation, really. But we don't know what their plan is yet. We don't really know how to counter them. And as for the Rocks Pirates information, it's like I understand why this is coming to light because Big Mom and Kaido have now joined forces, supposedly. Probably won't last long, but they have. So the whole, the Rocks Pirates thing, it's like, where are you getting this information? Like, the two are the same, but once again, as I explained earlier, like, I don't understand why they are separating, like, the Rock's second coming is happening, and we have two Yonko joining forces. No, that's the little reason this was kind of brought up. Like, the Rocks Pirates are not coming back, as far as we know. Golden Lion's not there. Silver Axe, Captain John, all these people that Sengoku lists in this chapter. Whitebeard's dead. Rocks is dead. None of the people, the only two that are joined forces that have anything to do with the Rocks Pirates right now, are Kaido and Big Mom. And that's more of a Yonko alliance than the second coming of the Rocks Pirates. So, I mean, if you want to interchange the terms, sure, but why are they seem to be separating these two issues as two separate issues? It just feels that way in the chapter. Don't get me wrong, it's hype, and I'm glad for all this information we get dropped, that Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, Shiki, they were all on this crew, right? Silver Axe, Captain John, they were all on this crew together, and they were so violent, and so, but they were a powerhouse. They were the unstoppable evil. They were basically, Sengoku says, they were more or less a terrorist organization that basically went, what are you gonna do? Basically, the revolutionaries before the revolutionaries, more of an evil, like even more so, I guess, than the revolutionary army. They were like, yeah, what are you going to do, world government? They were baring their fangs at them. And Sengoku says that Rocks looked to become the pirate king. So they would do all this stuff. They would pillage. They would hurt. Apparently, they killed each other off at sea. They never really worked well together. And their numbers would fly off. But apparently, they just somehow Rocks must have all kept them in line via some type of force. Something kept, at the very least, all attracted all these powerful people to work together for a time. And either way, it was, I guess it was hell. It was hell on earth. But then we also get a little bit of information about like when it happened, like this whole God Valley place. 38 years ago, I think it was 38. 38 years ago, Vice Admiral Garp teamed up with a certain pirate that we later find out to be Roger in this chapter. He teamed up with Roger to combat, and that's why Garp he's Hero of the Marines. That's his title. See, a lot of people that have been disrespecting the name of Monkey D. Goddamn Garp, which you guys all know my feelings about that. Monkey D. Garp is still a powerhouse. He could have killed a Kaido at Marineford. Still think he could do it now. But, Garp here did not get Hero of the Marines like Smoker. People comparing him to Smoker all the time. Oh, he got Vice Admiral. He got the title of Hero of the Marines because he captured the Pirate King. Blah, 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 blah. He's not actually doing all that strong. Blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. Okay? You're wrong. Why can't people accept that Garp is actually every bit as the legends say? Garp the Fist is a badass, is on Admiral level, and he still is on Admiral level. You tell me right now, 2 spots open up, and the only ones they're like, oh, we need someone. So, like, had Garp accepted the position of Admiral way back when, he still would have been an Admiral. Aokiji might not have been, or Akainu or something. Garp would have been there. Are you going to tell me, oh, but because it's Garp, he's got to be on a lower scale? No. He chose, and we find out in this chapter the reason he chose. Because Garp hates the Celestial Dragons. He hates the Celestial Dragons, and during this attack, during this raid, at the height of the Rocks Pirates' power, Garp managed to team up with Roger and take them down. So Garp fought Kaido, Big Mom, Shiki, Whitebeard, Rocks, everyone. Him and Roger fought and somehow defeated everyone. Like, come on, man. Like, you gotta stop disrespecting. Nobody, I don't see anybody disrespecting the power of Whitebeard, or Rayleigh, or Roger, or anybody going, you know, we never actually saw the feats in the manga, but everybody does it for Garp. Leave Garp alone. He is up here, y'all your opinions way down here when you disrespect that man. He is a badass. He's one of the most powerful characters in the verse, okay? He's still good. Piss him off. Watch what happens, okay? The dude says he's weak as shit right now compared to what he used to be, and he's still strong as hell. Like Rayleigh going, oh, I'm a little tired fighting an admiral toe-to-toe. Like, I can't move like I used to. So these things, that's what I'm saying, these things imply that Rayleigh could have kicked the shit out of Kizaru back in the day. He went toe-to-toe with them when he even says that I'm weak and my power isn't as what it used to be, I'm not as strong as, I can't move as well, I tire too easily, because he's an old goddamn man, right? So, like, you gotta put respect on these guys' names, guys. So, either way, this is the God Valley, an island that apparently disappears and stuff. People are saying this could be a version of Raftel, but why would they call it God Valley and then Raftel and stuff? This is an island that apparently vanished. It disappeared off the map and all this stuff, and it's just like after the incident 38 years ago, and this is how Garp got his title of Hero of the Marines and all this stuff, and it's just like, wow. And then we find out that Rox's true name is Rox D. Of course he's a D, and Sengoku brings up the D clan has always been like the Willa D, always seems to be attached to the troublemakers in every era and every generation, and Rox was no exception. He was a D. And he apparently was, his full name is Rox D. I'd probably butcher this, but it's Yexpec. Yexpec. It's a type of ship. I know that from working with the Coast Guard and stuff. But I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Xebec. But I don't know how to pronounce it properly. Do you pronounce the X? Do you call it Xpec? Do you call it Ebec? Or do you call it, with a bit of a... I don't know. But either way, it's named after a ship. Badass name, Rox D. Xpec. So, he's really cool. Apparently, he was at the height of his power, and he was crazy strong, and as I said, he had the will of D. He aimed to become the Pirate King. Garp, and it doesn't say they killed him, but he defeated, the Rocks Pirates disbanded after Garp and Roger teamed up to defeat them. But apparently, during all this, and this could be the whole reason that Dragon is now estranged from Garp, is because he did the one thing that Sengoku even blatantly says. He said, Garp himself is tight-lipped about it. He will give you the history lesson like I'm giving you, but he won't talk about what actually went down and what happened with him and stuff. Why? Because he doesn't like this. He never liked that he had to go do this fight. Why? He had, number one, he had to team up with a pirate. He had to team up with Roger. Pretty sure the second reason is the more important one. He goes, had to team up with a pirate to do my job pretty much. He doesn't like that part. But he really hates the fact that Garp doesn't like the Celestial Dragons. He had it his way, the Celestial Dragons would be... And this is clearly a well-known fact, because Sengoku's blabbing this to Marine HQ. He's saying New Marine Fort, and he's blabbing this to a room full of people that, yeah, Garp does not like the Celestial Dragons. No. And I'm like, I understand that Garp is Garp, and what are the Celestial Dragons going to do to Garp? Like, honestly, they literally got rid of the potentially some of the people that might actually be able to take him on, being, like Mihawk, they could actually take on Garp. They literally got rid of those people. So, like, are you really going to try to, like what would they actually try to do? Who do they have on their side that could take him down? But that's kind of irrelevant, because you're still blabbing, like, some stuff here, right? So, either way, I find this really interesting, because he basically said he had to defend the Celestial Dragons, like he had to save them sort of idea, and Garp probably, by the sounds of it, we don't know the full details, but it sounds like, let's say they were kidnapped or something, Garp would have been like, good, execute them. We really don't. Like, that's two birds, one stone. I'll fight you after. Can you kill them first, and then I'll pretend to get revenge for the Celestial Dragons, meanwhile being like, yeah, you got rid of about 12 of those Celestial Dragon families. Now we only got to deal with another 8. We're doing pretty good. And Alabaster's, they're okay and stuff. So, you see what I'm saying? Is that it sounds like it was maybe a hostage situation or something like that. The Rocks Pirates clearly were going to somehow kill multiple Celestial Dragons, and Garp inadvertently saved them by stopping them. And he hates that, because he doesn't want to save them. So, all very, very interesting information. This chapter is jam-packed with Garp stuff, and I love my boy Garp. Garp is, once again, one of the top-tier fighters in the verse, still as an old man. Don't care what you people say. And, yeah, so this is really exciting, and then we keep moving on, because there's more to talk about. We will just keep moving forward. Now, Sengoku continues to talk about the different situations, right? About Garp and stuff. We actually see Garp reading about Kaido and Big Mom, joining hands in the newspaper still down in Fishman Island, right? And we do know that he's basically saying, look, if you ask Garp about it, he'll tell you the facts, but he's ashamed of this. He didn't like the fact that him and Roger teamed up to protect the Celestial Dragons and their slaves. But Garp has continuously refused things we already knew, but it's interesting that Sengoku's imparting all this wisdom to clearly looks like some of the vice admirals and some other marines and stuff, and he's just saying like, yeah, the man, I mean, he could have been admiral this whole time, and he still continuously refused it because he would be directly under the Celestial Dragons, and his moral code does not allow him to fulfill that duty, because the marines are like, wait, isn't it the job of the marines to protect the Celestial Dragons as part of our duty? He goes, yes, but Garp can't fulfill that duty. He doesn't agree with it, and that's part of his job, but he just can't fulfill it. But the fact of the matter is that even though the world government tried to hide the facts about the Rocks Pirates ever existing, that's why a lot of Marines don't know about it. And no one from that, unless you're from that generation, it's unlikely you know about it. It's because the world government tried to wipe everything out. But they do still acknowledge things when it's in their favor. They don't say that Roger teamed up with Garp to take down the Rocks Pirates, but they do say, yeah, Garp stopped the most fearsome crew in the world, hero of the Marines, God Valley, blah, blah, blah. But then that island vanished. It's gone, it's not on any map anymore, and it's gone. And he goes, yeah, so the one that the world government, ladies and gentlemen, like, I've never even heard of that island. He's like, yeah. Well, the world government wanted to bury it, right? They don't want anybody to know about it. So now it's vanished. Still interested in asking questions? Basically implying that the world government ended up literally destroying the island. They bombarded it to the point that it sunk to the ocean. Like, they got rid of the evidence. Very interesting. Sengoku goes along to say a little bit more about Captain Rocks and about the situation at hand and such, that, Roger and him teamed up, they did this, they fought, and they actually, the way Sengoku says it is that they defeated the entirety, to the point that, I mean, we know a lot of them were left alive, but they defeated them. So even though later on in the chapter here, Sengoku does mention that Kaido and Big Mom joining forces and they are far stronger than they were, or they are stronger than they were 38 years ago, it still is an amazing feat that that these two and their crews fought against Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, all this, and we've seen what Big Mom as a child was capable of. So I'm just standing by going, yeah, this is something that is just like so unprecedented and stuff, So I'm beside myself, because they're saying, okay, like, even though, see, they are far stronger now. They have their own giant crews. They're Yonko. Them teaming up is the equivalent of something maybe far greater than even the Rocks Pirates, the greatest pirate crew, the most terrible pirate crew the world has ever seen, if these two team up in their current power state, right? And so then he goes on to ask about the bounties, right? Sengoku says, yeah, so what are their current bounties, by the way? And here's where we get into some of the bounties. And to make sure I get this right, I'm actually going to, bring up the phone, because I'm not going to pull up pages here, right? So Sengoku says, yeah, what are the current bounties of those two? And we get, Brenna, he, always the bounty man himself. He said the new bounties of the Shishibukai that we know about, right? As I said before, we are apparently going to get them. Maybe not next chapter, maybe not even for a few chapters, but they are going to reevaluate, and we may actually get a Mihawk bounty. Unfrozen bounties of the warlords. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see, especially, like, we haven't really seen the new crocodile one or anything, so that would be really cool. So, so to go over these guys' numbers, the first one we get is Blackbeard, and they just explain it all right here, right? He says, as the president de facto, blah, 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 Blackbeard. I don't really like Blackbeard. I mean, good as a villain and stuff, but, like, I'm not a fan of his character, like, how you can like evil people and stuff. I don't really like Blackbeard. So, but Marshall D. Teach, the original, still the same bounty of 2,247,600,000 bellies. So, obedities. So yeah, that's quite impressive. It's still, it's quite a bit bigger than Luffy's, which is the biggest bounty we saw up to that point. Then we get, this is the big thing. Shanks. Shanks doesn't have as big a bounty, but this defeats a lot of people's theories, and mine included, that I thought back at the beginning in Romance Dawn, I thought Shanks was a Yonko. I thought Shanks was a Yonko at that point. Who was the other Yonko in his place? I don't know. Maybe Shiki. Maybe Shiki was a Yonko at the time. But, because the 4 emperors, right? Shanks, as far as we know, was there. So, but he only became a Yonko. Remember, this is the 2-year time skip. So it was only 4 years ago in the main storyline, and during Marineford, Shanks had only been a Yonko for 4 years. If this translation is correct, it seems like a too short amount of time. But they stay right here. Next, we have a man that has only been called a Yonko for about 6 years. Of the 4, he's the youngest and well-trusted. And he goes around saying they are probably the most well-balanced crew. And they're the most impenetrable of the 4 crews. So maybe they're the type that, yeah, the Marines might be able to attack Big Mom, and they might be able to attack Kaido, but to attack Shanks, they clearly have some type of like security system, that iron wall of defense, something that makes it like we can't infiltrate his crew, we can't attack his crew. He just does what he wants. He's actually impenetrable by the sounds of it, right? So yeah, this means that it's very interesting because clearly Shanks was Yonko level at the time, though, because 10 years ago. Now 12, when the thing with Luffy happened, remember, Whitebeard says, when a man of your caliber came back to the New World, the world was shocked. Like, everyone heard that Shanks lost an arm in the East Blue. That went corner to corner of the Yonkos talking about it. People like Whitebeard. I'm assuming that means Kaido and Big Mom too. That was the big shock 10 years ago. So that implies that he might not have been called Yonko, but he might as well have been, sort of the way that Luffy's called the 5th Emperor. Shanks was basically like waiting for one of them to croak to take the spot. Because he didn't just get that bounty overnight, and if Whitebeard himself was like, oh yeah, like, I'm not concerned about Katakuri and Katakuri or Jack or any of these guys, Big Mom and Kaido and stuff. But I heard that Shanks lost an arm. That was news to me and the rest of the New World, the strongest section of all pirate crews. So it's very interesting. Maybe they got the timeline wrong here in the translation. But if they didn't, that implies that there was someone just as powerful or more powerful who either died or got captured, possibly the Golden Lion, was one of the 4 emperors, and there just wasn't a vacancy at the time. Though you would figure that would have been the moment to add the 5th emperor or something. Either way, he's only been called Yonko for 4 years. I mean, you know, so that's 4 years at the time, 6 years now. So that's very interesting. And his bounty is a whopping total of, leader of the Red Hair Pirates, 4 billion. 4,948,900,000. That number dwarfs, okay, so Blackbeard's dwarfs Luffy's, Shanks's dwarfs Blackbeard's. Like, it's just, and I still, to this day, say, yeah, Shanks now knowing how dangerous Blackbeard is, he can take him down. I'm surprised he hasn't done it already, but, yeah, so then they talk about Big Mom, and Big Mom, Captain Charlotte Linlin's bounty is 4,388,000,000. So, in the realm, Shanks, Kaido, and Big Mom are all in the same realm. They're all in the 4 billion realm, which is fair. That makes sense, right? So Big Mom is that. And you have to wonder, it was said by, I think, Greek in the Grim Reaper's Discord. Greek God said to me, he goes, who took these pictures? I feel bad for that poor cameraman because he died. You know, because you look at almost all these wanted posters, you see them staring at the camera. So Big Mom ate this cameraman, not the camera. Kaido killed him. Shanks might have let him go, but conquered hockeyed his ass. Blackbeard, like I feel bad for these people that took these pictures. Like they're either really wanted the publicity or they're dead, you know. So yeah. So then we have, of course, Kaido, who has about 300 million more. So we basically go, okay. So Big Mom has about 300 million more than Shanks, that's what Big Mom has, and then it's another about 300 odd million more than Big Mom for Kaido. So they're all within the realm of the 600 million gap. You give 600 million in the difference, and they're all in that umbrella. So that's really interesting. But he has a whopping total of 4,611,100,000. So I mean that's just insane. And then of course the final two battle. In the future, they talk about the Shishibukai system, and basically then we get the bounties for both Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, and Roger himself. So, I mean, they don't just drop us with one bounty. They don't just drop us with the Yonko's bounty. They give us the two biggest bounties, period, in history. Captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, 5 billion. 5 billion, 46 million, and Roger himself doesn't get another billion. He only gets 500 million on Edward Newgate because the man who could have been Pirate King if he wanted to. He's 5,564,800,000 Pirate King Gold D Roger. So I mean that is just insanity. See, I'm sorry I had to pull out my phone there, guys, but I really wanted to get those numbers right. That is absolutely like as I said at the beginning of the video, what do these numbers really mean? Well, we already knew they would be this powerful, but it's an unexplainable thing. Oda made it important, the fans believe it's important, and we enjoy the hype of it being important. Getting those numbers doesn't mean much difference in the grand scheme of the story, but damn did we want that info. You know, because we're thirsty. We are some thirsty fuckers who want the bounty. We want all the information, right? We want to know everything about the Void Century. We want to see Mihawk versus Shanks. We want to know who would win in every versus battle. We want to know about the Straw Hat. We want to know the Will of D. We want to know what the One Piece is. We want every bounty. We want everything, right? We want to know everything. So, because we're thirsty. We're thirsty for this stuff. So, this chapter is just incredible, and these numbers just, damn. Now, here at the last part of the chapter, I just want to jump back to a couple of, just one or two small things that were said during my listing of the bounties, because I wanted to just wrap that up. I didn't want to be looking at my phone the whole time. That doesn't make for an interesting review. So, we did get the information that Kaido was a pirate in training at the time, like Shanks being a pirate apprentice aboard Roger's crew, in the same way Kaido was a pirate in training. So, at this point, we can assume he's probably a number of years younger than Big Mom. I would guess maybe 5 to 10 by the sounds of it, because Big Mom was in her looking at her 20s, 25 look that Oda drew. I forget what age he drew her at when she was slim and sexy, but yeah, Big Mom once was. And in the silhouette, we see that, and we see a young Kaido back there, but he apparently, you know, that's what happened there, right? And then, of course, we get here are the bounties of 2 legendary pirates as well. However, during the speech, he says, look, if these 2 legendary men, no bounties of piracy is the key thing, because Dragon might just be unlimited in some way, or he might be 10 billion, but he said these 2 have the highest legendary bounties ever. But if Big Mom and Kaido truly do team up in the non-allied country of Wano, then their bounty together surpasses either of these 2 ever were. So, I mean, the weird thing about that is that you have to figure that might be the case. But I would be interested to see, okay, great. So they'd be almost, between the 2 of them, they'd be close to 9 or just over 9 billion, right? Roger's only only 5,500,000,000. However, what about Dark King Rayleigh? What's he worth? You know he's in the billions. He's worth more than Luffy, and he's definitely worth more than Blackbeard. So, you're adding a couple more billion right there, and he was on the same ship. Kazuki Oden. What about him? What about all the guys on Roger? What about the guys on Whitebeard's crew? You know? Like, I know Aston was only up and coming, but he had half a billion under his belt. You know, Marco, Vista, you know, these guys, like, I'm just sitting here. What about Ben Beckman? Katakuri is worth, you know, $1 billion. You know, he's the billion berry bounty man. So, I'd be interested at the very least to see, okay, but if you actually tallied up the crews, like how close would they be? Because we're talking like 3, almost 4 billion more than the Pirate King, but that's just on their individuals alone. As a pirate alliance, as an entire crew, I wonder if you added them up, how much further or how much closer it would be, but we'd never know that without knowing the full bounties of all relevant individuals of both crews, all 85 children of Big Mom, all the gifters and stuff, or anybody of equivalent status, along with the calamities and stuff on Kaido's crew, and we'd have to know the entirety of bounties on Roger's crew. And what was Shanks worth when on Roger's crew? There's another thing, right? Because Shanks and Roger, they were teamed up. I mean, Shanks worked under Roger. When did Shanks surpass $1 billion? Was it during the time of Roger? We don't know. So these are very, very interesting pieces of information. Now, it all comes to an end, though, right here. And I'm like, oh, this chapter was so good, but finally the great ride has to come to an end eventually, and we get frickin' Akainu has to be the one to end it out, bastard. And he basically says, like, we don't have the manpower right now to tear those two apart. We're not going to Wano. We can't do anything. Similar, almost, it's ironic, it's similar to what Garp was saying about the Rock Screw. He's like, if they get back together, we can't do anything about it anyway, so why bother? Like, there's no point in trying, because if they get back together, we're screwed. We don't have the capability that we had back in the day, that I had back in the day. So it's just not gonna happen. So Akainu has the same kind of opinion that right now we can't be bothered with that. We don't have the manpower to tear those two apart. We've got other things to take care of right now, and what can we actually honestly do to this alliance? So at least Akainu realizes his position a little better here, and he's telling, Sengoku, don't be spouting off too much stuff, and he just said, hey, I'm just giving information, man, I'm just saying. So then he brings up the fact that there was one man from Wano, Kazuki Oden, pretty much, like Akainu and Sengoku go back and forth. The last page here, and he talks about Kazuki Oden, saying Whitebeard, Roger, Red Hair, they all were tied to this man. This man was loved by all three, and he actually served both as a captain on Whitebeard's crew and a friend to Red Hair. That's kind of new information. He was a friend to Red Hair, and, it makes sense, and he went on the Pirate King's last voyage. This man is so goddamn important, but he goes, Kazuki Oden's dead. He goes, but right now, the world is going in a crazy space. It's insane. Why is everything directly connected to Wano right now, especially now, all over again? Kazuki Oden connected some of the strongest pirates in history, legendary pirates at one point, served under all of them, or befriended all of them, and now, back again, 20 years later, we're having the same issue with Wano. There's a connection. We have Straw Hat, we have Kaido and Big Mom, the Rocks pirates being brought up, this whole, just craziness that's going on with them right now, right? So, at the end part, Sengoku just says, I, for one, do not think this is a coincidence. Now, what does he mean by that? We don't know, because next week we are going to jump over to the next chapter. I didn't actually see if we're on break next week. I freaking hope not. I freaking hope not, Odo, because I'm glad I was right, guys. I was right. We did not actually go back to Wano Act 3. As I said, we're not doing that yet. We're going to have, I said 3 to 5 chapters. I'd want more, but I said 3 to 5. We're too strong. One more, and I was totally on the nose with this. But, like a buggy-sized nose, like big red and, reindeer-esque. So, that being said, this is just so much hype. There's just so much going on right now. The shit's fire. I want more. I want more. I'm thirsty, just like the rest of the One Piece community. I'm thirsty for this shit. So, what did you guys think of the chapter? Of course, you all loved it. But what did you actually think? What did you think of the review? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, it's always really appreciated. As you guys already know, hit that bell notification so you always know on my weird-ass schedule when I post a video. And this has been One Piece, chapter 957, I believe entitled Ultimate, which, yeah, this was an ultimate chapter, Oda. I do feel bad, one closing note here, for every other series, no matter how good it is, like Dr. Stone I really like, Black Clover is growing on me, My Hero Academia is alright, all the other series that run and jump right now, I feel bad for them when Oda brings out this type of fire level chapters over 2 weeks, because it just means that it dwarfs. It doesn't matter what happens in Dr. Stone. It doesn't matter what happens in My Hero. It does not matter. They could do the craziest fight in all of My Hero Academia right now, and One Piece would still take it. They would go home with the gold, because you just can't beat out this series. You know, you just can't beat it. When Oda's on fire, the rest of the world knows it. So, that being said, guys, this has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews. Drink responsibly as always. We'll see you back here next time. Cheers, guys.